ever wondered why some people seem to walk into any room and instantly command attention with an undeniable aura, while others, despite all their efforts, talents, and achievements, still feel invisible, insignificant, and constantly question their worth? Have you ever asked yourself if it's really just luck that separates the confident from the insecure, or if there's a hidden force silently destroying your self-worth every single day without you even noticing? Welcome to Success Lesson, where today we're going to expose one of the most overlooked truths about human life, that your self-worth is not determined by what you do or what others think of you, but by what you believe about yourself deep inside. And until you learn to take back that power, you will keep living trapped in a cycle of fear, comparison, and self-doubt. I want you to pause and think about how many times you've let a careless comment or a dismissive glance make you question your own value. How many nights have you spent replaying one moment of rejection, feeling like you weren't good enough, smart enough, attractive enough? If you're honest, you'll realize these moments have shaped the way you see yourself far more than your accomplishments ever did. This is because when we measure our worth through other people's approval, we surrender control of our happiness to forces we can never fully control. I used to think that if I could just achieve more, earn more, or impress more people, I would finally feel confident. But the harder I chased external validation, the emptier I felt inside. Every compliment felt fleeting, every success temporary, and every small criticism hit like a storm. It wasn't until I hit my lowest point, feeling like I'd lost all direction, that I finally understood. Self-worth isn't something given to you. It's something you claim for yourself. I realized that every morning I chose to believe I was inadequate. I gave away a piece of my power. Every time I let my mind replay past failures or imagine future judgments, I planted seeds of insecurity that grew stronger with each repetition. The truth is, no one else can decide what you're worth unless you allow them to. The moment you internalize this truth is the moment you take back your life. I began a new habit. Each morning, I would look into the mirror, not to find flaws to fix, but to find reasons to be proud. I reminded myself of every challenge I'd survived, every kindness I'd shown, every moment I'd stayed true to myself, even when it was hard. I wrote these down and read them when doubt came creeping back. I stopped comparing my timeline to anyone else's, because I finally understood that life is not a race to meet someone else's expectations, but a journey of becoming who I am meant to be. I started rejecting the societal scripts that told me what success should look like, that by a certain age I must have a house, a family, a perfect body, or a prestigious title. These expectations weren't designed for me. They were designed to keep everyone running the same hamster wheel, afraid to step off and ask what truly makes them feel fulfilled. When I let go of these rigid ideas, I felt a sense of freedom I had never experienced before. I also learned that self-worth isn't about being perfect or fearless. It's about daring to show up as yourself, imperfect and vulnerable, and knowing that you are enough even when you don't have all the answers. I learned to see my mistakes not as proof of inadequacy, but as essential lessons that make me stronger and wiser. I stopped apologizing for who I am and started celebrating what makes me unique, even when it sets me apart from the crowd. One of the biggest shifts came when I realized that those who seem effortlessly confident are not necessarily more talented or more intelligent. They are simply more convinced of their own worth. They have taught themselves to trust their inner voice over the noise of the world. They have built a foundation of self-respect so solid that it cannot be shaken by the opinions of others. And that foundation is what I decided to start building for myself, brick by brick, day after day. I began to choose myself in every situation where I used to abandon myself for approval. I chose to stand firm when my values were challenged. I chose to walk away from people and environments that only saw my flaws and never my strengths. I chose to set boundaries so I wouldn't betray my needs just to make someone else comfortable. And each choice, no matter how small, became a vote for my self-worth, a signal to myself that I deserve to live with dignity and joy. So, if you've been waiting for someone to tell you that you are enough, let this be that moment. From today forward, I want you to understand that your worth doesn't need anyone's permission or stamp of approval. It is intrinsic, unchanging, and rooted in your existence alone. Remember, the world will always have opinions about you, but only you can decide which ones to believe. Only you can claim your power and live from a place of deep, unwavering self-respect. If these words resonate with you, if you're ready to start your journey to reclaim your self-worth, don't forget to hit subscribe to Success Lesson right now. Your support gives us the motivation to create more empowering videos to accompany you as you grow into the person you were meant to become. Before you leave, I want to leave you with a question to reflect on and share your answer in the comments. Which do you think matters more in building your sense of self-worth? A, the approval of others. B, your own belief and love for yourself. Comment A or B below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and create a space where we can all learn and grow together. I used to believe that taking care of my health meant following rigid workout plans or counting calories until I couldn't enjoy a single meal. I thought health was about reaching a perfect body shape defined by someone else's standards, and that anything less meant I was failing. But as I pushed myself to fit into unrealistic molds, I started realizing that true health isn't about punishing yourself into a certain size or sacrificing joy for an unattainable ideal. It's about learning to listen to and love your body like the lifelong partner it is. Health is the silent foundation of everything we dream of achieving. Without it, no amount of ambition, intelligence, or determination can carry us far. When I finally made health a priority, not out of fear of sickness or to impress anyone, but because I wanted to fully experience each day with energy and presence, my life started to change from the inside out. I discovered the power of nourishing my body with foods that don't just taste good, but make me feel alive. I stopped eating mindlessly, no longer reaching for comfort foods to numb my stress or loneliness. Instead, I learned to recognize when I was truly hungry and when I was trying to fill an emotional void. I taught myself to appreciate each meal as an opportunity to honor my body, to give it the fuel it needs to heal, grow, and thrive. For years, I treated sleep like a luxury I could sacrifice for work, socializing, or late-night scrolling. But the more I neglected it, the more I noticed my mind clouding, my mood darkening, my motivation fading. I learned the hard way that sleep is not optional. It's the reset button my body and mind need to show up every day with clarity and strength. So I created rituals to wind down at night, turned my bedroom into a sanctuary free of distractions, and began protecting my rest as fiercely as I protected my goals. Movement also took on a new meaning for me. Exercise stopped being a form of punishment to burn calories and became a way to celebrate what my body could do. Some days that meant an intense workout, but other days it was a gentle yoga flow or a peaceful walk outside. I realized consistency mattered far more than intensity, and that the joy I felt after moving my body was more important than any number on a scale. By letting go of rigid rules and tuning into how I wanted to feel, I found a way to make exercise a sustainable, life-giving habit instead of a burden. I began to see that health extends beyond what's on my plate or how many steps I take. The environment I live in deeply affects my well-being too. I started decluttering my space, letting go of things that weighed me down mentally and emotionally. I created an environment that felt light, inspiring, and calming. I opened my windows to let in fresh air, added plants to bring nature indoors, and carved out quiet corners where I could retreat to recharge. Spending time outside became a sacred ritual for me. Even just a few minutes sitting under a tree or walking barefoot on the grass reminded me that I am part of something bigger, something alive and constantly renewing itself. Nature helped me reset my nervous system, let go of built-up tension, and remember the simple joy of being present in the world around me. Most importantly, I shifted my mindset about self-care. I used to feel guilty taking time for myself, believing it was selfish when I should be busy helping others or hustling for success. But I came to understand that self-care is not self-indulgence. It's self-respect. When I take care of my health, I am better equipped to support the people I love, to show up fully in my relationships, and to pour energy into the dreams that light me up. By nurturing my own well-being, I'm able to give from a place of abundance instead of depletion. I started expressing gratitude for my body's quiet miracles, my heart beating without rest, my lungs filling with air, my immune system fighting to keep me safe. I realize that every day my body is working tirelessly to keep me alive, even when I don't treat it with the care it deserves. This awareness deepened my commitment to protect and cherish the only home I will ever truly have, my body. I know now that true health is not a short-term sprint, but a lifelong relationship. It requires patience, compassion, and the willingness to adapt as my body and life change. It's about making small, intentional choices each day that compound into lasting vitality. And it's about remembering that health is not a competition, but a personal journey toward feeling my best, living with purpose, and savoring each moment life offers. So I choose to honor my health as the foundation of everything I am and everything I want to create. I choose to give my body the respect it deserves, to move with joy, to eat with mindfulness, to rest with intention, and to live each day knowing that taking care of myself is not a distraction from my goals, but the very key to reaching them. I used to think that controlling my emotions meant never letting them show, stuffing them down so I could appear strong, composed, and unshakable. But the longer I tried to hide what I felt, the more those suppressed emotions would burst out in unexpected ways, through irritability at loved ones, restless nights staring at the ceiling, or an overwhelming sense of numbness that left me disconnected from everything that once mattered. It took me years to learn that true emotional strength isn't about bottling up feelings, but about having the courage to face them, understand them, and let them guide me toward growth. I started to see emotions not as enemies to be conquered, but as messengers trying to show me where I needed to heal, what I needed to change, and what truly mattered to me. I realized that every feeling, whether it was joy, sadness, anger, fear, or confusion, carried a lesson, a clue pointing me closer to my authentic self if only I dared to listen. When I felt joy, it taught me where my passions lay. When I felt sadness, it reminded me of what I cared about deeply. Anger showed me my boundaries, and fear revealed the edges of my comfort zone, begging to be expanded. Instead of running from my emotions or distracting myself to avoid them, I began a practice of sitting with them, asking myself simple yet powerful questions. What exactly am I feeling right now? Where in my body do I feel it most? What triggered this emotion? Is this feeling truly about what's happening now, or does it stem from a memory or old wound? These questions help me untangle the knots in my heart, transforming overwhelming waves of emotion into insights that empowered me rather than paralyzed me. I also learned the power of naming my emotions with precision. There's a world of difference between feeling bad and recognizing that what I'm really feeling is frustration, disappointment, jealousy, or loneliness. The more accurately I labeled my emotions, the less control they had over me, because they no longer lurked in the shadows of vagueness. Naming them brought clarity, and with clarity came choice. The choice to respond intentionally rather than react impulsively. Sharing my feelings with trusted friends and loved ones was another milestone in my emotional journey. For so long, I had believed that opening up would burden others or make me seem weak. But when I allowed myself to be vulnerable, I discovered the opposite. Real connection grows in the space of honesty. I experienced the profound relief of feeling seen and heard, and I found that my openness inspired others to share their truths as well. Together, we created a safe space where emotions were not judged but honored, and where healing could begin. One of the most transformative lessons I learned was that forgiveness is not about condoning what hurt me, but about setting myself free from the weight of resentment. By holding on to anger or bitterness, I kept myself chained to the past, reliving pain over and over. But when I chose to forgive, not because someone deserved it, but because I deserved peace, I felt a lightness return to my heart, making space for joy and hope to grow again. To deepen my emotional awareness, I carved out moments of stillness each day, whether it was through meditation, journaling, or simply pausing to breathe deeply. These practices helped me tune into my inner world, observe the ebb and flow of feelings without getting swept away, and recognize patterns that had held me back for years. Over time, I noticed that my ability to stay grounded in the midst of emotional storms grew stronger, and I became less reactive to life's inevitable ups and downs. I also realized that embracing my sensitivity was not a weakness, but one of my greatest strengths. It allowed me to empathize with others, to offer comfort when someone else was hurting, and to appreciate life's beauty in a way that only comes from feeling deeply. I stopped shaming myself for moments when I felt intensely and instead celebrated my capacity to connect with myself and others on a profound level. Every emotion became a teacher, guiding me toward greater self-awareness and compassion. Happiness reminded me to savor the present moment. Grief taught me the importance of letting go. Frustration urged me to seek solutions, and fear pushed me to cultivate courage. By viewing emotions as allies rather than obstacles, I began to see them as integral to my journey of becoming a more authentic, resilient, and loving person. As I continue to walk this path, I know that my emotions will always ebb and flow like the tides. But I am no longer afraid of them. I welcome them as companions on my journey, each one holding a mirror to who I am and who I am becoming. By honoring my emotions, I have discovered a wellspring of wisdom and strength within myself, and I am committed to living with an open heart, embracing every feeling as a necessary part of my human experience. For most of my life, I underestimated the power of relationships. I thought success was a solo journey, that independence meant never needing anyone, and that vulnerability was something to be avoided at all costs. But it was only when I reached moments of deep loneliness that I realized how much the quality of my connections shaped the quality of my life. I began to see that relationships are not optional luxuries, but essential foundations for fulfillment, resilience, and personal growth. I started noticing that the people I spent time with either lifted me up or drained my spirit. Some offered encouragement, listened without judgment, and inspired me to strive for my best. Others subtly belittled my dreams, dismissed my feelings, or left me questioning my worth after every interaction. The more I paid attention, the clearer it became that my relationships were like mirrors reflecting how I truly valued myself. When I allowed people to treat me poorly, it was often because I doubted my own value. When I stood firm on my worth, I naturally attracted relationships that were respectful, supportive, and enriching. Learning to build healthy connections began with listening, not just hearing the words, but tuning into the emotions behind them. I discovered that truly listening is an act of love. It requires putting aside my assumptions, silencing my inner monologue, and being fully present for another person. When I offered this kind of attention, I witnessed barriers dissolve, misunderstandings clear, and hearts open. I also found that people often don't need advice or solutions. They need someone who makes them feel seen and understood. Expressing gratitude became a practice that transformed my relationships. Instead of taking the presence and support of others for granted, I began to intentionally thank them for even the smallest acts of kindness or moments of companionship. A sincere "I appreciate you" carries a weight that deepens bonds and reminds both people that their connection matters. Gratitude also shifted my focus from what was lacking in a relationship to what was good, allowing me to nurture and celebrate the positive aspects. As I grew more aware of my own needs and boundaries, I realized that setting healthy limits was not an act of selfishness, but one of self-respect. There were times when I had to step back from relationships that were consistently one-sided, manipulative, or toxic. At first, it was painful to let go, especially when history or loyalty made me feel obligated to stay. But each time I chose to protect my peace rather than compromise my well-being, I felt stronger and more grounded in my sense of self. I learned that boundaries are not walls meant to shut people out, but gates that define how I want to be treated and what I will not tolerate. Communicating these boundaries clearly and kindly helped me avoid resentment and misunderstandings. It also invited relationships to thrive on mutual respect, where both sides felt safe to express themselves honestly. Another key to building meaningful connections was letting go of the need to always be right or to have the last word. In disagreements, I began to listen with curiosity instead of defensiveness, trying to understand the other person's perspective instead of planning my rebuttal. This shift allowed conflicts to become opportunities for growth rather than sources of division. I found that acknowledging when I was wrong and offering a heartfelt apology strengthened my relationships far more than stubbornly clinging to pride ever could. I made a conscious effort to show love through actions, not just words. Sending a message to check in, offering help without being asked, remembering important dates, or celebrating achievements. These simple gestures built trust and conveyed that I genuinely cared. I also realized that small, consistent acts of kindness have a cumulative effect. They create a foundation of safety and warmth that sustains a relationship even during challenging times. I came to understand that differences in opinions, backgrounds, or personalities do not have to be threats to a relationship. When approached with respect, these differences become opportunities to expand my perspective, learn patience, and practice empathy. Embracing diversity within my connections made my life richer and taught me how to navigate disagreements with grace rather than avoidance or aggression. Above all, I learned that authentic relationships are grounded in vulnerability. When I dared to share my fears, dreams, and insecurities, I opened the door for others to do the same. Vulnerability created intimacy, fostered mutual understanding, and forged bonds that felt unbreakable. I stopped trying to present a polished, perfect version of myself and instead showed up as I was, trusting that the right people would value my honesty more than any illusion of flawlessness. As I continue to nurture the relationships in my life, I remind myself daily that love is not measured by grand declarations, but by the quiet moments of connection, the willingness to listen, the courage to speak the truth, and the commitment to show up for each other. By building relationships on a foundation of respect, gratitude, and authenticity, I am not only enriching my own life, but creating a circle of support where everyone has the chance to feel valued and truly belong. There was a time when I believed trust in life was naive, that only the foolish dared to hope for things to work out. I thought the safest way to protect myself was to expect disappointment, to prepare for the worst so I wouldn't be caught off guard by heartbreak or failure. But living with constant suspicion drained my joy and robbed me of the wonder that makes life worth living. It wasn't until I chose to see trust not as a blind leap, but as an active, conscious decision to open my heart despite uncertainty, that everything began to shift. I learned that trust is not something you place recklessly in every situation, but a way of moving through life with courage. It's the choice to keep going when the path ahead looks foggy, to believe that the lessons I'm learning now are preparing me for something greater than I can yet imagine. It's the quiet confidence that even if today brings pain or struggle, these experiences are shaping me into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Moments of hardship tested my resolve, pushing me to the edge of giving up on my dreams. There were days when all the evidence seemed to point to hopelessness, when doors kept closing and no opportunities appeared. But in the middle of these storms, I discovered that trust isn't proven in moments of ease. It's forged in the fire of doubt. It's in the choice to stand back up after every setback, to whisper to myself, I don't know how this will work out, but I believe it somehow will. As I practiced trusting life, I began noticing signs of quiet miracles around me. A chance encounter with someone who offered exactly the advice I needed, an unexpected opportunity that arrived when I was about to quit, a small act of kindness that restored my faith in people on the days I felt alone. These moments reminded me that life often conspires in ways we don't immediately see, working behind the scenes to align circumstances for our growth and healing. I realized that gratitude and trust are inseparable. The more I noticed and appreciated the small blessings woven into my everyday life, a sunrise breaking through dark clouds, the comfort of a friend who simply sits beside me in silence, the resilience I find in myself after falling, the easier it became to trust that life's challenges carried purpose, even when they hurt. Gratitude anchored me in the present, reminding me that I was supported, guided, and never truly alone. Learning to let go of the illusion of control was another pivotal step. I spent years exhausting myself trying to plan every detail, convinced that meticulous control would guarantee success and safety. But life has a way of humbling even the most careful planners. When I finally loosened my grip, I felt a lightness I hadn't experienced in years. Letting go didn't mean giving up. It meant making space for possibilities greater than my limited imagination. It meant trusting that the universe had a broader view of my journey than I ever could. Trusting life also helped me deepen trust in myself. I stopped second-guessing every decision, stopped assuming every mistake was a catastrophe. I learned to view each choice as a step in my evolution, understanding that missteps are just as valuable as triumphs. I gave myself permission to try, to experiment, to fail, and learn without labeling myself a failure. Each time I honored my instincts and took action aligned with my values, my self-trust grew stronger, and with it, my faith in the flow of life. One of the most profound realizations I had was that trust doesn't mean expecting life to be easy. It means believing that whatever comes, I have the resilience to face it, the adaptability to navigate it, and the faith to find meaning in it. Trust is what allows me to pursue dreams that others call impossible, to love deeply, even when there's a risk of loss, to embrace change instead of fearing it. I began to see life as a vast, intricate tapestry, with every thread representing moments of joy, sorrow, struggle, and triumph. Up close, some knots and tangles seem like mistakes, but when I step back, I start to glimpse the bigger picture, a design more beautiful than I could ever create alone. This perspective helped me stay hopeful when things didn't go according to plan, reminding me that what feels like an ending could be the beginning of a chapter far richer than what I once envisioned. Through all of this, I committed to nurturing trust daily. I reminded myself that pessimism is easy but costly, that cynicism steals possibilities before they're born. Trust, on the other hand, is a brave act of hope that fuels perseverance and invites magic into the ordinary. I promised myself to stay open, to believe in new beginnings, even after bitter endings, to trust in my worthiness for joy, love, and fulfillment, no matter how many times I stumbled. Now, when fear whispers doubts, I return to the quiet knowing that life has carried me through every hardship before and will do so again. I choose to greet each day with a heart willing to believe that good things can and will happen, that the universe is not indifferent, but responding to the energy I bring. With trust as my compass, I move forward, no longer paralyzed by what could go wrong, but inspired by what could go right, determined to meet whatever comes with grace, gratitude, and unshakable faith in the journey ahead. Looking back on the journey of reclaiming my self-worth, caring for my health, understanding my emotions, building meaningful relationships, and learning to trust life, I realize these are not separate paths, but intertwined threads that create a strong, resilient foundation for a fulfilling life. Each area feeds into the others. When I believe in my own value, I am motivated to protect my health. When I take care of my body, I have the energy to navigate my emotions. When I process my emotions honestly, I can show up authentically in my relationships. When my relationships are healthy, I am reminded that I don't have to face life alone. And when I trust the process of life, I have the courage to continue growing even in uncertainty. This journey has taught me that no one arrives at a life of peace and purpose by accident. It is a deliberate practice of small daily choices, choosing to speak kindly to myself when self-doubt creeps in, choosing to nourish my body with rest and good food, choosing to feel my feelings instead of numbing them, choosing to invest in relationships that bring out my best, and choosing to see challenges as opportunities to deepen my trust in life's unfolding. These choices add up over time, transforming the way I see myself and the world around me. I've come to understand that real strength is not about perfection or having it all figured out, but about getting up one more time than I fall, about being willing to face what scares me, and about remaining open-hearted even when life disappoints me. It's in these moments of courage and vulnerability that I find my greatest growth and most profound sense of connection to myself and others. By honoring both my light and my shadows, I am able to live more honestly and with greater compassion for everyone I meet. The lesson I want you to carry with you is this: your worth is inherent. Your health is your most precious asset. Your emotions are powerful guides. Your relationships are sacred. And trust is the bridge that carries you through life's inevitable storms. Don't wait for perfect circumstances to start caring for yourself or believing in your dreams. Begin today with whatever you have, wherever you are. Choose to love yourself in action, not just words. Surround yourself with people who see your light and remind you of it when you forget. Embrace every feeling as a teacher and lean into the uncertainty of life, knowing that every twist and turn is shaping you into who you're meant to be. If you found this reflection meaningful and want to keep learning how to build a life rooted in self love, resilience, and purpose, I invite you to join our community at Success Lesson, where we share tools, stories, and support to help you grow. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so we can continue creating inspiring content that empowers you to become the best version of yourself.